Hello to NASPAA. My name is Laurin Henry. I was at the Princeton Founding Conference 40 years ago, and I emerged from that conference as the first vice president of NASPAA and later became president in the second year. At that time, I was at the University of Virginia. Later, I was at Virginia Commonwealth University. And after I retired, I came back to UVA as a senior scholar where I wrote a history of the background and founding and early years of NASPAA. So NASPAA has been very much a part of my life. I'm happy to see the organization still thriving and to greet you on this special anniversary. As a matter of history, I would say that the founding of NASPAA was not instantaneous or without controversy. It grew out of meetings of deans and program directors that had been going on for some years under the auspices of NASPAA, the American Society for Public Administration. But in the late 60s, it was felt that a new and stronger organization was needed, and a little group of deans came to the Princeton meeting with a proposal. The proposal was to establish an organization with stiff membership requirements. To qualify for full membership in NASPAA, it was proposed that organizations in schools had to have faculty and students of a certain size and have separate and independent standing in their university structure. Although programs not meeting these requirements could come along as associate members, it was clear that the offices and the voting strength would be with the larger schools, including the authority to set standards. Now that didn't go over very well with the representatives of the so-called small programs at Princeton, and that's where the controversy came in. Representatives of the small programs most of them could not see any way they were going to qualify for first-class membership in the foreseeable future, and didn't know if they wanted to sign on to that kind of an organization. So the debate got fairly heated. Eventually, it turned out that the representatives of the small programs outnumbered the others at Princeton, so the stiff membership requirements had to be withdrawn. Everybody who was present at Princeton was automatically declared in, and all would be in on the same basis from then on. I was surprised to be chosen for office, and I attribute that to an accidental thing that happened during the discussion about membership requirements. At one point, I had jumped up and said, "My gosh, Leonard D. White himself couldn't qualify for first-class membership in this organization." If you young people don't know who White was, you should look him up. Anyway, that was a sufficiently controversial statement to make a stir and identify me as a spokesman for the small programs, and I was slated for office along with Bob Wilcox of San Diego, who more or less represented the large programs. The first few years were touch and go, I must say. We didn't have much in the way of staff or money. We weren't sure if some of the schools which had been disgruntled by what happened at Princeton would stick with us. But we managed to hold it together, held a couple of good annual conferences, and by the third year we had the organization sufficiently going that we could, with a lot of care, introduce a standards project which ultimately resulted in the standards that were adopted and which subsequently became the basis for NASPAA's standards in accrediting organization. So that's enough of history. I hope that I can say in closing that NASPAA will continue to stand for programs of strong intellectual content and rigor, and will also firmly advocate the values of public service and search for the public interest.